A great show for you today. Have a great interview from a person that contacted me about, well, his actually agent contacted me and said, hey, there's this guy that you are going to want to talk to. And I said, of course, I want to talk to him. Welcome aboard, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Bridge MCP is in the house. Lee Grant is in the house. Yvette Avery Herod is in the house. Alistair Waters is in the house. Bruce Pollard is in the house, as well as Michael Rudnin and Paraver Keelan, our one and only person from Barcelona, Spain. Melanie Keelan. How are you doing, Melanie? AVQ brother Rudnin is here as well, and he says, I twisted my back last afternoon, couldn't focus while in pain. Been down over a day, feeling nervous energy, being cooped up inside for over a week. COVID, feeling a need to go outside and walk the block for a couple of times, but there's a 50% chance of rain right now. I feel for you, my brother. I feel for you. Look, when you have back pain, it's a killer. And when my back starts to act up, it's a killer. I know exactly what you mean, brother, but hang in there. Yeah, the numbers was a mistake. I was running late and then copying all those stuff. Everything got copied over. Anyway, what can I say? Anyhow, the numbers kind of keep the right length of messages. It's a whole mechanics that I go through. And if I miss it, something bad happens. All right. Make that 100% chance of rain. No walk for me right now. You know what I do? I walk around my house. Sometimes when I'm really running low on steps, I'll walk around in circles really fast. Just keep going around in circles, room to room to room to room to room to room to room. And that kind of helps me out with, sometimes getting the cronk out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you might want to try that. I don't know. Bridge MCP says, for a group that constantly complains that Democrats enjoy making everything about race, the right's biggest names are suddenly eager to push the narrative that the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, and the Biden administration response to the disaster are the result of racism against white people. That's the big takeaway from Tucker Carlson, who has been hell-bent on accusing Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg of intentionally neglecting East Palestine, a majority white town. According to Carlson, Buttigieg is instead occupied with efforts to increase job opportunities for minorities and improve roads in Philadelphia and Detroit. Cities Carlson sneeringly mentions, vote Democrat. It's true that a host of systemic issues contributed to the East Palestine train derailment, but as my colleague Abigail Weinberg wrote last week, much of those issues are tied to anti-labor practices and corporate greed, not some manufactured instance of federal government hating white people. After all, it was Norfolk Southern, the rail company behind the crash, that chose not to update its Civil War era brakes. By the way, Pete Buttigieg just forced Norfolk Southern to pay for all of it. Yes. Okay, but since you brought that story, Egberto Willis should have done it in binary. 1100110. It would have been long. Come on, you know that. That would have been a long ones and zeros, though. I tell you. Hello, relatives from E2247 who's in the house. Let's define what weaponized means, is what Bruce is saying. And we already have Bruce saying it's 62, or rather it was, what did Bruce say? Bruce said it was, I know I saw something wrong. Yeah, it was 40 degrees last week. It is 81 degrees today, more than twice the amount, huh? And Lee Grant says, hey all, welcome aboard Lee Grant. How are you doing, my brother? Norman Reynolds is in the house. Norman, you've been scarce, but it's such lovely seeing my brother. He's been away for a while and we missed him. You were missed. You were missed. Folks were asking, whatever happened to Norman? And as you know, I've called you about 3 or 4 times just to make sure all was fine. I keep in touch with my folks when I don't hear from them, Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. What else have we got here? Alistair Waters says, we are at 82 now. Alistair, don't keep increasing the temperature on me. It's hot enough already. You know what my electric bill was last summer? I went ahead and started looking into solar. I gave up on solar because I'm going to digress here because I want to show you guys something about that drives me crazy about capitalism. When the salesperson comes into your home to put the solar stuff in, right? The first thing they ask you for is your bill, right? Then they try to cater the numbers in such a manner that with the generation that you're going to have from the solar panels, it beats it makes your total cost, the cost of financing the solar cells, as well as whatever other costs are there. And then they bring their solar panel cost close to that. And then they try to tell you how smart you would be to go with it, because even if you think the price of these panels are high, look, you're still saving over time. But of course, we're not guaranteeing you that the electricity we say you generate, you're going to generate. And of course, we're not going to give you all these guarantees. That shouldn't be the issue. In a true society, we would have something like the parts cost X amount of dollars, and we're going to put a certain profit on it. Take it or leave it. But not look at what your bill is and cater the bill upwards to be just under the totality of the cost. It was so bad that when I said no, they offered me, after they quoted this system that was ridiculously high priced, they were able to drop the price by several $1,000s just to try to get me in. And then I said, wait, how comes you could drop that price by so much? And the answer was, the manager said we could take a lesser profit. Let me tell you, the profit that they were taking initially was something like 40% of the total cost that they were given to me. It's a racket. When I talk about certain industries belong outside, now I could take it or leave it, and I left it, right? I will stay paying my high electric bill until something forces them to go down in price. And I think it's going to happen because people are going to stop putting these things in when they realize that they're being suckered, right? But I tell you what, when I talk about certain industries do not belong in the private sector, solar panels I think is a must. We could solve a lot of our energy problems if everybody's roof became a generating station. But because of the capitalist entry into that domain, it put restrictions on, because a certain small number of people decide that they will monopolize all the 20 or 30 companies who sell these products. They are going to take out all the money to enrich a few at all of our expenses who want to get these products out, as opposed to saying, let's have it this way. The government says we are providing the solar panels, and this is the amount of profit we say that we are willing to pay over the price of the product. Anybody, private companies want to bid on this, go ahead and bid on putting them in. But because we have turned it over completely to a greedy enterprise, most Americans who could benefit, including poor people who could benefit from solar panels, will never, ever be able to benefit from the free energy coming from the sun, because you understand. All right. Eric Hayes is in the house. E2247 is in the house. Alistair Waters in the house. Lee Grant says, Egberto, I hope you took a look at that flyer from TPUS and Charlie Kirk. There was no hate there. If you don't see hate in that flyer, it concerns me. And what I am going to do right now, because I think it's important for us to examine why you don't see hate in that. I think it is high time for us to examine what hate looks like, both subliminal hate and otherwise. All right, this is what the flyer says: free and brave. Free and brave. In other words, those others are trying. Let me put it on the screen. And I'm going to go into the show, but you guys come first. So when you bring up an issue, I tackle that issue first. Here is it. You see, when you have been programmed into believing that the other is a problem, you don't see the hate. The free and brave. In other words, follow us. We are the free and brave. those folks are the ones trying to enslave you. Those are the folks that want to take away your freedom. Oh, really? When you say that and that is a lie, that is implicitly hate. So just to start, that you're seeing there is hate. All right, here's how it starts. They don't love the America that you and I love. That's the beginning of the Turning Point USA thing. I have it on the screen. They don't love the America that you and I love. Big media, big tech, radical professors, and biased reporters. If that's what you are defining good reporting, media have problems with media, but I actually say what the specific problems are. These guys have nothing. Then they say they've convinced millions of young people that America is evil to its core. No, they didn't convince millions of people that America is evil to its core. They have told the truth. America was formed and an initial sin that tore the flesh of people off their bodies, that hung people, that performed genocide on a whole initial resident of the places they invaded. Telling the truth is not saying America is evil. It is telling the truth. That's who we are. That they should hate its heroes. No, what we're saying is these are what the people that you call heroes have done. George Washington had over 60 slaves, 16, I don't remember the number. Thomas Jefferson impregnated his slaves and didn't consider the children of his slaves equal. That's the truth. Why is that trying to instill hate? That is what our forefathers did. They ripped the skin, they boiled people like me alive to make a point. And they unleashed their forces to loot our cities. Okay? Really? Really? They protested because a police officer murdered a person. And the police officer lied in their report, and they were going to do nothing about it until the people protested. The same thing our forefathers did when they thought England, Great Britain, was taking away their rights. It's interesting because our forefathers, in fighting for their freedom, would be considered terrorists by our current fathers of this country for attempting to overthrow who was in command then. Additionally, we would have called brutality on countries that do what we continue to do even in the 60s, 70s, and to some extent today. My dear brother, that you don't see hate coming from him with those lies that try to misinterpret what people like myself and other progressives are trying to do. Let's understand history so that we don't repeat history. So please, let's continue. Will you stand up for America you love with a contribution? As if we, progressives, don't love this country and are trying to make it a better country. You know what I mean? That's what we are doing. We are trying to make this country a better country. Don't tell me there's not hate in this letter. That's why hundreds of thousands of high school and college students are joining Turning Point USA to take back this country. Take back from whom? From whom? So they are making us the enemy. That's hate. Come on, man. Again, critical thinking. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is a must. That many don't see it, I don't know. All right? Let me tell you what has happened and what the right is perfect at doing. They're perfect of encapsulating hate with a facade. The stench stays on the inside. the facade looks nice and cool and nice and easy. But then you go into the core and there is the stench. You have Florida governors trying to erase any ability of learning the truth because they're scared. You see, as I preach all of the times, most people are good. Very few are evil. Very few are evil. The problem is we also have, as many experiments have shown, mostly followers and not and that go towards leaders. And leaders can be good or bad. And if you cloak leadership, if you cloak hate with fear, it's very easy for good people to follow bad leaders out of fear. So good people that think they're conservatives fear the progressives because they're telling the truth. Fear the progressives because of what they want. You know, progressives want good schools for everybody. Progressives want good health care for everybody. Progressives want good family leave. All these family value things are what progressives want. And you are taught using hate to say those guys are crazy. All right. Question, why would the president go to Kyiv and brandish himself in front of the world? China now sided with Russia. Which is the administration doing? This isn't true. That is crazy. I mean, you don't understand geopolitics if that's what you're saying. I am not a fanatic of Ukraine. And I am supporting what the president did in going over there because I understand the concept of Russia invaded Ukraine. All right? I don't care about Ukraine or Russia. I don't care about Ukraine or Russia. I don't think either one of them are better than the other. One claiming democracy and all of that. You know, that doesn't turn me on because democracy goes as far as, well, that's for another story. Daniel Ledo says, LOL, you know Egberto doesn't care. It has no hate. He uses it for propaganda purposes, lies, or the air he breathes. Even the conservative on my show looked at it and he said, oh my God, why? Why? He saw through the hate. All right. Michael Rennie says, I've lived in my apartment building. I've called my landlords about solar panels. Their response, we'll think about it or something as such. James Rubichow says, there are so many health benefits, including mental benefit to walking. I try to walk at least 2 miles per day. Albert Einstein said that's the best way. You know, maybe I should do that. Take small strolls instead of killing myself on the bike at 2 in the mornings. Bridge MCP said, get free report for as much as $9 billion. Julie Henderson is in the house. Hello, Julie Henderson. I try and walk every day, but I have my dog as company. Bridge says. Daniel Lido says, replying to Eric Hayes, war is coming. Egberto Carter has had solar panel on the White House in the 70s. I spoke about that yesterday. In fact, I spoke about that on my KPFT show, and I did a piece about my love for President Carter. I really loved that guy. I think President Carter is our most moral president, bar none. But I'll go into that. I'll have a video on that I already did at KPFT yesterday. Julie Henderson said, solar companies will not install on my house because I don't use enough electricity. It's not worth their efforts, not enough profit. It's amazing. Like I said, these guys are capitalists. They are not environmentalists. And they're using, and that's whenever you unite capitalism with environmentalism, many times you defeat the purpose. Unfortunately, President Biden, when he sells environmentalism, he sells it as a something that capitalists can make money on instead of something to save ourselves, something to make us healthier. I wish we didn't think we had to cater everything is you can make money doing it. Hey, this environmental thing is good because you can make money. What it means is you constantly do what capitalism does. Rip off from the people who least can afford. All right. Eric says all solar and renewable goes to China. No. The Biden administration, unlike the Trump administration, has invested in making sure a lot of this stuff is built in America using American products where available. Please read. It helps. Lee Grant says, pull up the flyer. Show me the hate. I just pulled it up. I have it on the screen. All right, and I showed it to you. And I also explained it to you. Bridge MCP says, Berto, you know Rose Williams, she was having solar on her house and Solar Place went bankrupt. 55 so years have gone by and no solar and lost money. It's a shame. That's why I said I looked at it and, this company was trying to tell me how reputable they were and all. I said, to hell with it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait till we get a government in there that will take over the initial portion of the thing and let private sector that wants to send out a lot of people to throw it on top of your house do it at a reasonable profit. Julie Henderson says solar fails in cold months. Batteries lose power in freezing temperatures. Lee Grant says progressives say the America is evil to the core. We don't say America is evil to the core. We speak about the specific parts or portions in America that is based on evil. Okay? Slavery, genocide, locking a group of people up on reservations, putting people on the Exclusion Act. We can go on and on and on and on about evil deeds. Okay, so unless you can accept that, the funny thing about it is we are always ready to look at other countries and say all the bad things they're doing. And if other countries had done what we've done, we would talk about, where is their moral rights or your human rights and all of that. So let's be, here's the thing. The rest of the world studies history, not only their history, but world history. And many of us centralize on American history. I came from Panama, Central America. And in our school, we had American history, we had Panamanian history, we had world history, and we had American history. We had to learn, and for American history, we had to learn the 50 states, all the capitals of the states of the United States. We had to learn major things about the United States, including slavery, genocide, all these things we learned in Panama. It's the superpower. You have to learn who the superpower is. We learned all of that. When I came and I had to take my naturalization test, I never studied a wimp. I knew more about America than most Americans knew about America. So what I'm trying to tell you is, my brother Lee Grant, many and people say, well, why do they still come here? Because we are a society created by a bunch of different people, and we don't cede America, the continental America, we don't cede it to just the folks who came and colonized it. America itself, the body called America, is a land of plenty. And we are not going to allow just the initial folks that came here that effected, let's say, genocide or other on the country to just, no, all of us will partake of what America can be. We love this place. Okay? We love this place. We were all brought here in different methods. No apologies for the foreigners that come here, and then we call them foreigners. We should call them instead the same way as the pilgrims were. Okay? All of us have rights to this land. All right. Julie Henderson says, solar, I read that already. Hate is very forefront now. Surely stoke flames on this. I would like somebody to tell me what have I said that is not correct. And if you agree that what I've said is correct, then there is a lot of hate that needs mitigating. Julie Henderson says, homes built underground maintain temperatures, natives built with natural materials. Yeah, they were very smart. They will as a part of the land. Seems I'm hearing a lot of hate here on PDR. Unfortunately, it's coming from the host. Well, you can say that telling the truth is hate if you want, but that is what happened in America. That is America. Guiding democracy, aka managed democracy, is formally democratic government functioning as a de facto authoritarian government, or in some cases as autocratic government. E2247, you got it right. Such hybrid regimes are legitimized by elections that are free and fair, but not change the state policies, motives, or goals. I don't know if you see the genius of what you just said, dear E2247. Lee Grant says, this is a whole lot of spin, Egberto. Brother Grant, what part did I just spin? Please tell me. George Washington was known as town destroyer by Iroquois indigenous people after he burned down their cornfields in 1753 and caused starvation. We have to understand what we've done. If you don't know the truth, you can create a lot of myths. Maywood won't engage him. It's like giving the medicine to the dead. Alistair Waters says, I'm a progressive Christian. I believe that actions, not people, should be hated. You are a beautiful person, Alistair. You hit the nail on the head. But let me just tell you about the hate back in our formation. It wasn't all. It was a few. It was a few people that had inherent hate in their hearts and others followed them. You see? And that is where my compassion comes for people. That is why those that aggrieve me, call me names and all of that, I don't take it to heart, because the culture of hate that have people fearful and lead and doing the things that they do, I understand it. And because I understand that, I don't hold it against the human. I hold it against the system. But from our inception, we did a lot of hurting on human beings. Let's remember that. Alistair Waters says, don't put me in a bubble, baby. Nobody can put Alistair Waters in a bubble. Absolutely not. Conservatives is America's perfect in your eyes. Liberals and leftists would say, no, of course not. When you see your nation's problems and aims to make things better, there's not hate in your country. Now, is it? It is actually a love. When I scold my child to make my child a better person. And if I must say it myself, in the scolding that I've done over time, not only to my child, but to those who I've coached, they were a better person. As my mom and my dad raised me and scolded me and taught me, they made me a better person. In fact, I can say that who I am rests a whole lot with how they made me and the toughness that they did to make me. George Anthony Catara Santos de Volters is protected over... I hear you, Julie Henderson. All right. Political philosopher James Sheldon Wallen coined the term inverted totalitarianism in 2003 to describe what he saw as the emergent form of government of the United States. Wallen analyzed the United States as increasingly turning into a managed democracy similar to an illiberal democracy. We have become an illiberal democracy already. In other words, the government controls elections so that people can exercise all the rights without truly changing. Bruce Pollard said, I studied the cost and bargained with several vendors until I got reasonable value proposition. Not an easy thing to do, who have a weak credit and not lots of time. I am watching the overhead costs and they're going down. It's a caveat emptor. My credit score is 800. And when that guy saw 804, and when that guy saw my credit rating, there was this huge smile on his face, and he went ahead and he says, you qualify for X amount of credit. He never asked me about work or anything. No job, no nothing. If he ever knew that I'm a political activist now, I don't know what he would have thought. But it's ridiculous, right? And the reason why is, I looked at him and I said, I don't need all that money for one of the reasons I could go into activism full time, I paid down my bills to the court. And he was like, that's good. And he was elated. He thought I would just pick up all this credit because, wow, I was going to pay to enrich them. That is the mentality, Bruce, that drives me the most crazy. And by the way, brother, you had a lot of time to study. I am so happy about that. But there is another caveat to this that I didn't bring up with you, Bruce, because one of the people that came and quote was a person that did it for Bruce and gave Bruce an excellent deal. But he came to me and he gave me a lousy deal. And I know deep in Bruce's heart, he said, my God, even if you were going to charge Egbert a little bit more than what you did for me, exactly why would you think to go overboard like that? And I'll leave that question up for you, Bruce. And maybe someday you'll go ahead and say, I know the answer, Egberto. I know the answer. All right. Eric K says, Carter, please, we have Carter 2.0 now. I love President Carter. Let me just tell you that. I love President Carter to the core. President Carter was responsible for a part of what I do. I can tell you that. The goodness of President Carter rubbed off on me. When he started with Habitat for Humanity, the psyche change that that man made in me was outstanding. I love the guy. Let me repeat that. I love the guy. All right, Bruce says there will soon be solar farms you can buy, but into and transfer the earnings against your meter use. The thing about it, Bruce, is I think everybody's rooftop is wasted. I think we should start having policies that turn all our roofs into power generation stations, all our roofs, right? Because it's just wasted energy. It's wasted energy. But if we had governmental policy that says, even if it were to say that, well, the government is going to, for anybody who wants, and so that the people who always say we try to take your freedom away, for anybody who wants solar panels on their roof, the government would put solar panels on their roof. And after they put solar panels on their roof and manage the solar panels on their roof, that the energy that person saves would go all to them and to pay for the solar panels as a general tax to the entire nation, right? I mean, there are so many different models we could adapt to save ourselves, to save our economy. So many different models that we could incorporate. I'm not, because I've got into so much different topics today, I'm not going to do the interview because it's 21 minutes and I've already blown past the time. I just look at the time and say, my God, we're having so much fun. All right, Michael Renes says, Daniel Lado, 60 years. Do you mean the time back when FDR did the New Deal, got Social Security, Medicare, we have wages like linked to productivity, and we had regulations on Wall Street to prevent investment banking from gambling with your money? Those were the good old days. But that was to, Lado says, no, America is far from perfect, but perfect is not the goal. If you're looking for perfect, you're a fool. America has been under assault for 60 years from leftists. Really, what did we do? That's what Michael Rudnan just answered. They took something good and turned it into SHIT. Really? When those 60 years that you spoke about, to a person of color, let me tell you what it meant. And that's where I said people need to start thinking before you talk. To a person of color, 60 years meant that you were living in redlined areas where your home could never appreciate like your white brother and sister's home, which meant you left a lot of assets for your future generations on the table. 60 years ago also meant that you couldn't go to certain universities in this country to get a commensurate education, which would qualify you for a commensurate job. 60 years ago also meant that the way Social Security and so forth were written, the type of jobs that people of color had because of the long time of slavery meant that they weren't as educated, etc. Those particular jobs did not qualify for Social Security. Even though we had the great New Deal, the Social Security and all of that was great, it didn't apply to all. And the way it was streamlined was for jobs that were mostly done by people of color. They were the ones that didn't qualify. So I can go on and on and on and tell you what those 60 years were like. So when you talk about it was great, ask to who it was great for. And that is when I talk about empathy, I have empathy for all. I have empathy for my brothers and sisters in Appalachia. My white brothers and sisters in Appalachia who by design are forgotten and maligned and turned into caricatures and kept off, for the most part, of society so we don't see the expendables. Those are my people too. I understand how the system works. I get it. And that so many are maligned, so many are confused in the mind. They don't understand that this is not a race thing. It's an economic thing where race is the tool. race is the tool, and white folks who follow into that domain are nothing more than the weapons the tool uses. Or rather, the weapons that the armies of the tool uses. Okay? All right, Lee Grant says, show me a progressive who says anything like that. They do say that things can be better. They do admit to the problems and propose solutions. All I say from your side is denial and a wish to go backwards. And again, look at me, look at Norman, look at women in this chat, look at women that are listening to us. We don't want to go back to the 50s and 40s where women had to get their husbands to sign off if they wanted to have a bank account. Yes, that's 60 years ago. That's what you want to go back to. That is how great things were. Things were great for women. Things were great for people of color. Come on. Where is empathy? Recently saw a program about cellular energy where energy is shared through batteries or joined together. This system is effective but illegal in the US. And why is it illegal? More than likely it is illegal because the capitalists found out that what it means is that since you're sharing load, when you talk about connecting batteries together from different homes, etc., you're sharing load so that when one person is filling up, the other person may be extracting. It's sharing load, right? All right. Daniel Ledo says, Stalin murdered 20 million people over ideology, but America sucks, right? How many people do you think we murdered throughout our, here's the thing, right? We don't consider what we kill murder, right? Stalin blew up a lot of folks. He's right. A lot of people got killed by Stalin. But when we dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, we don't count that. When we went into Iraq and we just to get Saddam Hussein, when we went to Iraq and we cluster bomb Baghdad, you know what we didn't see on TV here? What we didn't see is the cracked bones and the bones sticking out of bodies and the people with blown up faces, innocent civilians. We didn't see that on American TV. You know who saw that? We saw that in Latin America. We saw that all over the world. But we didn't see it here. So it didn't happen. So when you talk about Stalin killed 20 million people, I will urge you to figure out how many capitalism kill on a continuous basis. Go to where we get raw materials and how it is acquired. You don't see that. We don't talk about that. James Robichaud says, yes, I'm a super critical of Biden for many reasons, including promoting the monetarianism, including the deficit mythology and the taxpayer mythology that I always criticize him. But one thing that I think that he understands very well is the huge political value there is to locating some of these new factories for green energy products in swing or red areas, including mentioning that most of those jobs don't require a college degree, especially since the diploma divide has become a huge problem for Democrats. So there is it, that at least. Robichaud, I love you, brother. We don't have to agree with the brother, with Brother Biden on all these things. In fact, I am much closer to, I'm exactly where you are on monetarism. The problem is I cannot figure out. I am a person that wants solutions, okay? And I can't figure out the deep thinking required. Read your paper. Your paper was horrendously long. Informative, horrendously long. You know who's going to read it? Nerds like myself, nerds like Michael Rudnin, nerds like Bridge MCP, nerds like Bruce Pollard, nerds like Norman Reynolds, nerds like May Wood. But the people that really needs to read that and understand the concept that you laid out in there, Brother Robichaud, ain't reading it. So we have to be able to take the message in such a manner that people get it if our intent is to get change. Capiche? All right. Let's see. LOL, trying so hard not to say white. Who's trying hard not to say white? I say white, black, and everything all the time. because I know those are social ridiculous constructs, but I have to live within that world. All right. Bruce says, life was good for me in the 60s, not for others. All I'm saying is if we should make life good for everyone if we can. There you go. Egberto Willis, check this out. Jimmy Carter, nuclear naval officer, nuclear power plant. He saved it. I saw that on Rachel Maddow yesterday. I saw that. Robert Cho says, what makes you think I'm listening to the same show which you are listening and I don't hear any hate? Explain, please. There you go, brother. Thank you, my dear Robert Cho. Renard Blake, welcome aboard. Greetings from Lansing, Michigan. Hey, Tom C. is from Michigan as well. Salute, Tom C. Maywood says, the show seems to have frozen. I'm going to duck out and back in to see if it resets. It will. Alistair Waters says, has a really good take on our times. Thanks, Abe. Lee Grant says, Egberto, would you support legislation to silence TPSA as it's so hateful? No, I would not silence them at all. I do not believe in silencing them. I believe in doing what I did here. In other words, I believe in a friend of mine got this here. Notice I blocked her name out. She got this. And I said, I am going to expose this, hopefully to some of the people who received this so that they can see how the hate operates. It's better to shine the light on it than to try to hold them back. She is too old to scold, as are mine. It's hard to realize. I am talking about when it was time to scold, brother. Reynolds Blake said, there's nothing wrong with honestly criticizing America. Reynolds Blake, you're a genius. Daniel said, I understand why Egberto is a Marxist. He's hell-bent on enslaving us all. I know the pathology wounds that produce his particular brand of Marxism leftist today. I know why he rejoices at sexual perversion, judges people not on character but skin color. That's me? Really? Wow. You know, my brother has a way of looking in the mirror. Daniel Ledo loves to look in the mirror. All right. Let's go. Greetings from Rainer. Let's see. Julie Henderson says, it's amazing that paying debt on time provides better credit than not having any debt, even with good historical payments. You know, and that's what happened. I have two personas. I talk about wanting to end corporate personhood, but Willie's Media LLC, that's Politics Done Right, and all the blogs that we do, is an entity, a separate entity than Egberto Willis, right? And I do it on purpose because of our crazy capitalist legal system. I've had to do that for protection, right? But they both have great credit right now, you know? And that's because I don't spend no money. Everything that I do here, I try to do correctly. And the monies that you guys provide to Politics Done Right, I'm very frugal with. Very, very frugal with. But by the way, I need a vacation. Anybody wants to contribute to a vacation? Send me on a cruise, a cheap cruise. Anyhow, continuing. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, I don't want that crap on my roof, natural gas generation. And said, fine. I said, if you don't want it on your roof, fine. You want the natural gas and all of that, by all means, do your natural gas. Stay in the past. That's fine. Those of us who want to move to the future, we can. But don't hold us back, Brother Eric. If you want to stay in the past and burn in gas when we have alternatives, burn your gas. If we get a lot less of you, it'll be fine. All right. James Robichaud says, be careful with the request for Carter 2.0. He's a man of excellent character, and I do really love him, and I'm sad about his imminent passing, but he, not Reagan, helped start the neoliberal era. He helped introduce deficit hysteria and debt hysteria to the Democratic Party, even as John F. Kennedy knew that the size of so-called deficit did not matter. I don't want to go into that discussion right now, James, because first of all, I'm not completely up to speed. Remember, Carter was when I was a child, right? I came over when Carter last year. I just started college with his last year in office. Michael Renner says, Daniel Ledo, the infiltration and corruption of government has been happening legally and since 1976. Buckley Vallejo decision. That is right on the money. Julie Henderson says, rocket mass heater is also an efficient wood stove. Grant would be provided for those as well. Energy efficiency. Daniel Ledo says, leftists, we don't use fear like Republicans. Also, leftists, Republicans want to kill you. I never thought that Republicans want to kill me. I think Republicans do a good job of killing themselves. Those people who follow Republican mantra usually kill themselves. I can't help it. But since I love everybody, I try to beg them, please take your vaccine. Please go ahead and support policies that help your kids. Please support policies that not going to keep people taking all these drugs, these amphetamines, etc. Please, I love you guys. I love everybody. And I say that from the depths of my heart. This is not just saying this. Ledo gives me hell. Do I love Ledo? I promise you, on everything I believe in, I love Ledo as well. I look at Ledo, brother Ledo here, who constantly maligns me, who constantly lies about me, who constantly does that. I look at Ledo as a symptom of everything that I'm trying to fight against. And I can't sit back and hate this brother when I know the causes of why he says the things that he does. And I mean that from the depths of my heart, folks. I mean that from the depths of my heart or my brain. The heart, well, you guys know what I'm talking about. All right. Bruce Pollard says, Eric, explain natural gas, or is it a joke? No, Eric is serious about the natural gas, man. E2247 says, I'd be glad that Egberto keeps trying to talk sense too. I always will. Paul Fleming is in the house. Why are you so late, brother Paul? Love you, bro. James Rebel Show says, Daniel Doe, you guys really need some new material. Eric Hayes says, Bruce Pollard, no joke, reliable and works. Yep. LOL, Egberto really is not an idiot, just a seasoned propagandist. The leftists began about 60 years ago. LOL, notice how he tries to obfuscate the point by ranting about conditions 60 years ago, trying to destroy my argument, but nobody says they were successful 60 years ago. They have had 60 of successes to get us here. Huh? Paul Fleming says, Republicans must find a new generation of men and women. What wants to work for you and not enrich themselves? I agree. That wants to work for you. I agree. Julie Henderson said 6 years ago, a woman had to have 6 children, was called a good Christian woman. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, when we came out of Afghanistan and people got killed and left, yet one of your side paid for it, and Americans are, I don't think you get that right. Okay, so Egberto is officially a major league piece of SHIT, is what he says about me. Trying to make the ending World War II as some kind of an American war on crime. If you don't think that we didn't use that atomic bomb that could have been used in Europe, people will say, oh, it wasn't ready then. Really? And we dropped 2 of them on the Japanese. Okay? And we said we did that to save lives. No. We did that just like we did the Tuskegee in experiment. Okay? That's what we do. It's the same thing we do with putting cancer into testing cancer in women of color to see the different reactions. It's the same thing as sterilizing a whole set of women to see how it would happen. It's the same thing at the Tuskegee Institute where we went ahead and left untreated to see what it would do to human beings for syphilis. This is not anything new, Daniel. Like I said, you live in fantasy land as what we as a people have done to people we considered others. And I'm not blaming white people for this. I'm blaming specific white people for this. You see? And I could blame specific black people for doing something. Like I blame specific black people who have joined the capitalist domain and used the capitalist domain to hurt black neighborhoods. And then when they give a pittance to some in that same black neighborhoods, they get big kudos for. Look at what he did. He helped put people through college. He helped pay for their medicine degree after he have liquidated their environments. I'm an equal opportunity, a fair person who hits everybody that should be hit to tell the truth. Julie Henderson says, Vietnam dinner was news stop media from showing active war. It was not palatable. Yep, you're right. Egberto, renewable resources pulled from Congo via children. Is that humane? And why are we not showing that? No, that is not humane at all. That is capitalism. Eric Hayes gets it. He gets it. He understands. We don't have to have that. Oh, look at what Bridge did. She gave us the binary code. We don't have to have those kids doing what they do to mine those products. You know why they mine it at that? Because somebody is profiting off of their labor. If we right size the cost, instead of giving middle people a small amount of middle people a ton of money, we wouldn't have that problem. But I'm glad that you saw that, Eric Hayes, because you're correct. You're absolutely right, Eric Hayes. Bruce Pollard says, if you include the people that died building the WC Stadium, soccer is a deadly sport. True. Michael Rudnin says, conservatives will point at Stalin as an example of a leftist, as if any leftists in America aspire to become the next Stalin. It's foolish. You're right. I keep saying all conservatives seem to have a strawman argument. They can't take what we leftists offer on its face and then challenge that. Here, let me try again. Big money corruption out of politics. A government that prioritizes the needs of people, including living wages, universal healthcare, environmental protection, justice for all. Go for it. Try to challenge that directly. That is what we stand for. But you're right, Rudnin. They cannot argue against what we stand for. So they try to create starch. They try to first say that is socialist, and then they argue the socialist mantra by connecting it to Hugo Chavez, Stalin, and the like. It is the thing that the Powell Manifesto has taught them to do. Michael Rodden says, Egberto James, you'll pardon me, but I have neither the time nor the attention span to read any extremely long articles. I tend to read the first 3 pages of a lot of articles. That's how I keep informed. That's good, but I had to finish Brother Rubicho's article. I needed to because he gave me so much hell in the beginning. I think he loves me now. But you love me now, right, Rubicho? But he gave me hell. My brother Progressive gave me hell until he realized, I think, the way we work. Daniel says, LOL, when I look in the mirror, I see a white guy. I hate him, but I'm allowed to yet identify. Oh, Lord. Julie Henderson, schedule a business vacation. I know, I need one, but I don't got business vacation money. Egberto, don't forget about Republicans' gun policy. Having a gun in your home, something like triples your chances of death. Agreed. Daniel Little said, I sometimes think Egberto is bipolar or something. He can't remember that what he says from one day to one. Does he actually believe he never says Republicans want to kill you? No, I do say Republicans want to kill you when I'm talking about health care, when I'm talking about the Affordable Care Act. Republican, the politicians. Not Republicans, my brothers and sisters. Not you, Brother Ledo. Not you, Lee Grant. Not you, Eric Hayes. I try to make the distinction, and I try to make it as often as I can. When I talk about Republicans doing evil, I'm talking about Republican politicians who know better. I also talk about folks following leaders. And I don't hold those who follow leaders accountable when brought into the fold. Come on, man. No, there's nothing bipolar about it. You would like to make it that way because then you can make your case, but your case falls flat. Tom C. says, we need a national divorce from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's already has the House representative and custody of the GOP children. Hey, wow, today we didn't touch any of my videos because of you guys doing all of this. Now I'm going to have to change all the write-up I did on the show and put this up and just call this a free-for-all. Lee Grant says, Egberto off the chain, Hiroshima Tuskegee. So America is rotten to the core. You see what you're doing? Don't do that. Don't do that. One person, Truman, decided to drop the bomb after being convinced of, exactly. Daniel Ledo says, oh my God, your ignorance of World War II is astounding. For F's sake, read a book not written by Noam Chomsky. Here's the funny thing. I've never read a book by Noam Chomsky. You know why? I'm not a fan of Noam Chomsky. Because, I won't go into the reasons why, but I'm not a fan of Noam Chomsky. All right, Ledo, Chomsky is smart. Are you afraid to read him? By the way, I know he's smart, but I don't, there are certain things that he did that kind of offends me, but I won't get into that right now. Daniel Ledo, you've known civility. Man, what a joy. Eric needs a national divorce. All right, folks, we're at 58. And you guys were so active in the chat today that I decided to just go with what you all brought. And must I say, you guys were great. A great audience to discuss all these issues. And, whenever you guys do this, that's what I'm going to do. This program, that's what it's all about. Whatever you want to talk about, we bring up. And the conversation that we have in the chat takes precedence over anything that I'm going to bring. So I will hold the interview and the other thing that I put out here for the next show, and I'll go ahead and all the dialogue that I did for this show, I'm going to have to change the title of the show, all that good stuff on Daily Coast and everything. But I'm going to do it because it's your show. E2247 says, Daniel Lado scares me most days. Too bad about that. I'm grateful of that Egberto keeps trying to talk sense to Daniel. I'm grateful to see you expressing good health. I'm grateful to see Egberto expressing good health. Thank you, sir. Daniel Lado says, I have read Chomsky apparently. Egberto has not. Why was that question directed at me? Why are you not asking why Egberto is ignorant of brilliant Chomsky? You know, in the progressive space, there are a lot of brilliant people in the progressive space, like Chomsky and others. And while I have not read any Chomsky, I am a fan of Amy from Democracy Now! I was going to say Amy Grant. I like Amy Grant's music too. But Amy from Democracy. What is Amy's last name? What's wrong with me? But anyway, I'm a fan of Amy Grant and Amy from Democracy Now! So yeah. I didn't ask Amy Goodman. Thank you, Lee Grant. Thank you, man. I don't know what's wrong with my head, Lee. I don't know. Amy Goodman. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you, Daniel Lado. Thank you for talking about that. And thanks, Bud. I love you guys. Anyway, this is my ask. I keep forgetting to do my ask, and you guys got me so riled up today that I forgot. So I'm going to do it real quickly. So I'm going to go over by a minute. So let's go ahead and fly my donation page here. Please, folks, support the show. You can support the show at PayPal. Go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can also support us at Patreon. I need some patrons, so please support us at Patreon. It's worth it. Go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. YouTube. If you're on YouTube, just go ahead and click that join button. Get Egberto a coffee a day, or a coffee a month or something like that. So just go to support us on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. You can support us on Facebook. They take subscriptions too. politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. You can support getting our books, politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books, and go to our store, get our stuff at politicsdoneright.com/store. Lastly but not leastly, you can find all these links to support our program at politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. Thank you so kindly, everyone. Look, everything that you see here is honest. And I don't mind, folks, they're back and forth with me. It doesn't offend me in the least. In fact, what I think it does is it opens the door for me to be able to articulate other things for not necessarily convince Lado. Lado is in a very deep state. But many people who would hang on to what Lado says would hear the interaction that not only myself, but many of you have with Lado and others, and in that manner, change the minds of others, have them think more clearly. So, whoa, and you all think this guy is smart, can't even remember the author he was told to cite when questioned. He's a classic charlatan. Okay, I'm a charlatan. I guess we don't have slip of the minds or anything. But I tell you what, anytime you'd like to go into a contest on doing anything, whether it's be programming or history or all these other features, Lado, if you'd like to come on my program and then ask the audience to query us together, I'll be more than happy to do it. Challenge. Would you like to come right here and sit next to me and have the audience query both of us? Let's do that. Because you're calling me a charlatan and you're a genius. So let's see how you do against the charlatan. Deal? Let's do it. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please.